Waddesdon University librarian, and there's many people here. We'll introduce and recognize some of them as we move along with this very short program, and you have a copy of the short program on your table. But I want to acknowledge, before we start, Mary Bradley from WHQR, because, you don't have to say anything, don't worry, because this whole idea of buying a piece that celebrates the Pelicans and really consolidating the pieces we already owned in our collection that recognizes the artists of southeastern North Carolina came from Sherry Matson and I, and Sherry's our business officer, many of you know her, going to an event at WHQR that was a show of works about pelicans, right?
Yep.
How many years ago, Mary?
Maybe 3 artists, you guys remember?
Artists, calling all artists who might remember. It was a couple years ago, and Sherry and I were there, and we just were so taken with several of the pieces, and we had been trying to make a commitment to purchase one piece a year for the library, for our public art collection, and decided, well, let's invest in pelicans. And we bought, and we'll introduce artists later, but I think we bought Mike Penny's piece, I'm sure of it, Mike, and I know you're here. We bought the runner right there, and I think we bought, and this was over a period of time, Marla Rice Evans' piece, and some of you are UNCW folks. Marla's the only artist who wasn't going to be here. She was in university advancement and is now, I think, in New York City directing an institution. And I think at that time, that was spurred by our attending that opening. So Mary, thank you for joining us here. This is great. And that's probably Elizabeth Singletary calling in. So, but almost, but not quite. So I wanted to recognize Mary Bradley. Kathy Sartorelli, thank you for joining us here today, a library user, but also someone that appreciates the many things we're trying to do here, so welcome. Kathy Barlow, who certainly supports all of our investment in space and repurposing our space, interim vice provost. And I think at this point what I'd like to do is have our coordinator of special collections, Jerry Parnell, speak a little bit about our newest piece, which is this incredible piece by Sue Mara, and Jerry will give you the context of this piece, which is really very special.
Thank you.
Jerry.
I'm not going to use that either.
All right.
So much for that investment.
Sarah referred to this as the Pelican Gallery, but it's also been called Pelican Cove. So, yeah, this was a commissioned piece right here by Sue Mara. In 1986, philosophy and religion professor Gerald Shin started a program called the North Carolina Living Treasures. The idea was to recognize traditional arts in North Carolina, and he modeled it after the Japanese National Living Treasure. And annually, they would select some craft, pick someone in North Carolina, and give them the award, and we would acquire a piece of their work. Unfortunately, Dr. Shin retired, we ran out of money, so it was dormant for a few years, but thanks to a grant by Dr. Michael Meyerson in Wilmington, it started up again in 2000. And now every other year we select a traditional North Carolina craft. We have honored potters, furniture makers, instrument makers, gunsmiths, knifesmiths, glass makers, basket makers, bookbinders, and last year, quilts. And so Sue was selected for her work, and then we commissioned this piece, and she delivered it last week. So this is brand new. So Sue will be introduced in a few minutes. Sure.
Thank you, Jerry. We try every year when we have selected the recipient for the Living Treasures that we buy a piece of their work. Some of those pieces are in special collections. Some of them are around the library. So we are delighted to have this here, and it's quite a story in terms of its framing and delivery and installation. So thank you so much, and it definitely is the centerpiece in this space.